We are in the heart of Bosnia. My name is Dr. Osmanagich. I am the principal investigator of the Bosnian Pyramid Project. With me today, our field geologist Richard Hoyle and our field archaeologist Amna Agić. We are at the new location, which we named back in 2007, the 6th pyramid. Of course, we all know about the 5 pyramids, the Bosnian Pyramid of the Sun, which you just saw, then the Bosnian Pyramid of the Moon, the Pyramid of Love, Temple of Mother Earth, and the Pyramid of Dragon. However, in 2007, our associate Višnja Dobrić from Zagreb made a beautiful article explaining that based on the topographic maps and the geometry, there is a potential to have one more pyramid, the 6th pyramid. And we are here today. We will hear about the geometry and alignments, but at this point I just want to mention our position. Behind me is the town of Visoko, in the heart of Bosnia-Herzegovina. So, Richard, you've done some scanning and some investigation of this site. What have you found?
So, first of all, if we take a look at the thermal inertia scans that were conducted across the Bosnian Valley of the Pyramids years ago when the projects first started getting going, we can see that the heat loss and gain of the 6th pyramid matches the same kind of criteria as the Bosnian pyramids of Sun, Moon, Dragon and Love. So that was our first clue that we weren't dealing with just a simple hill like what surrounds the Bosnian Pyramid Valley. The second clue was the morphology of the hill itself. So when we look at, say for example, the LiDAR scan of the Bosnian Pyramid Valley, we can see that the natural hills surrounding the pyramids have trenches cut into them from surface water runoff, essentially streams, gullies, eroded out from the surface by rainfall. And all of the pyramids in the Bosnian Pyramid Valley have this one thing in common, where they have smooth sides, because the water is unable to run off the surface. It actually gets directed into the structure, and that's why we don't have any surface deformation from trickling down water. Now, again, if we look at the LiDAR scan, for example, that was conducted in 2012, when we look at the morphology of this hill, we see that it is actually quite regular, similar to the other pyramids, except for it's not like a square pyramid, for example, the Sun, Moon, Dragon, or the Giza pyramids, which are square base, 4 triangular sides. This pyramid is unique to all those in Visoko. It's actually 5-sided, so it has it's a pentagonal shaped base, and just like all the other pyramids in the Bosnian Pyramid Valley, one of its sides, the most southern side, is its access plateau. Now this is interesting, why the southern side of the 6th pyramid has its access plateau connected there, because there's another pyramid in the Pyramid Valley that also has its southern side connected to its access plateau, and that's the most southern pyramid, the Dragon Pyramid. Now when we look at a topographic map and we see how the Dragon Pyramid and this 6th pyramid are related to each other spatially, we see that the peak of the Dragon Pyramid and the peak of the 6th pyramid, there's an angle of 19.5 degrees. Now this is very significant. Why so? Well, I'm going to refer to researcher and scientific basically researcher Richard Hoyle, quite a controversial figure. He's focused some of his work on the anomalies on Cydonia Mars, and he found that the face of Mars and another 5-sided pyramid, the DNM pyramid, which is near the face of Mars, has a relating angle to themselves, which is 19.5 degrees. Now why is this angle significant? Well, if we take a tetrahedron or a star tetrahedron and we basically put that in the middle of a sphere, what we see is that we have one of the apices of the tetrahedra on the North Pole, one of the apices on the South Pole, and then the side apices actually intersect with a sphere at a latitude of 19.5 degrees. Now, why is this significant? Well, if we take a look at, say, the planet Earth, we imagine it's a sphere. It's not actually a perfect sphere, and we can describe what that means in relation to the 19.5. But if you imagine a superimposed tetrahedron with inside the spherical Earth, and one of the apices is touching the surface of the Earth at 19.5 degrees, what do we see? Actually, one of the largest mountains on Earth, actually it's not above the Earth, it's actually below the sea, is the volcano chain Hawaii. That is at approximately 19.5 degrees, and that's a shield volcano. And it's actually occurring in the middle of the Pacific tectonic plate. Now, geologists have tried to explain why we have volcanic activity at that location. Normally we have volcanoes at the edges of the plates where there's subduction zones. And they call the Hawaiian a hotspot. But they're actually quite confused as to what is causing this hotspot in the middle of the Pacific plate. Now, is it related to 19.5 degrees? Is there something happening inside the Earth that is related to this upwelling of energy, geometrically speaking? And it's not just Earth. For example, we can actually look on other planets. The planet Mars, Mons Olympus, actually the tallest known mountain in the solar system, is also a volcano, though extinct these days. It's also a shield volcano, which is exactly the kind of volcano we find at Hawaii, again at approximately 19.5 degrees. We also see the red spot on Jupiter is near about 19.5 degrees. Now, critics to this sort of explanation as to why we're seeing this energetic upwelling at this angle is that, you know, sometimes it's not exactly 19.5, maybe it's 20 or maybe it's 19.3 degrees. Well, you have to remember that the Earth and the other planets aren't perfectly spherical. So when we're talking at a geometric model, it's a perfect sphere. The Earth is not a perfect sphere, so you're going to get some sort of different movement away from that perfect 19.5. But bringing it back to the Bosnian Valley of the Pyramids, why is 19.5? Why would it be significant between two pyramids? Well, pyramids are energetic machines. They are passive machines that utilize naturally occurring earth currents from the ground. So when we find this 19.5 degrees here in the Bosnian Valley of the Pyramids, it's almost a symbolic reference to the fact that we have upwelling energy coming from the earth through the pyramids and then up out into the atmosphere. So this is our first initial investigation, and as we go further into the investigation, hopefully we will be revealing more information about this interesting site.
This was wonderful, thank you, Richard. Now, our field geologist, Amna Agić, was there anything for you here today, Amna?
So, as a field archaeologist,
field archaeologist.
I can say during the prospection of this field, there is no visible surface finds. So, hopefully, in the future, we will be able to dig here, and we will probably, during that process, hopefully, we will find some proper evidence.
Okay, thank you, Amna. And now a few words about the measurements that I've taken. So today is October 9, 2020. The time is around noon. Weather was a little cloudy and foggy. The temperature is 16.5 degrees. Humidity 66%. Visibility was medium up until 10-15 minutes back. Now the negative ions, which is extremely important energy parameter in the tunnels, the values here are rather low. We know that at our homes it's between 20 and 50 negative ions per cubic centimeters. In the cities about 150. Here we have from 400 to 600 range. That's rather low. On the top of the mountains, in the pine tree forests, 1000 or 1500. In the Bosnian pyramid tunnels, 20, 30, 40, even 50,000 negative ions per cubic centimeter. Everything above 5,000 is the healing level. So we don't have a healing level, 400 to 600. The second parameter, very important when it comes to the ionization, is the ratio between negative and positive. It's always good to have more negative than positive. In the other case, there is more positive, which are usually emitted by our technology like TVs, computers, laptops, microwaves, electrical grid, and so on. We feel sleepy, we are tired, and so on. So, when it comes to the positive ions, we have between 150 and 300. In other words, we have 2 times more negative ions than positive, which is a plus. Nuclear radiation, it is 19.5 CPM, which is well below the minimum allowed, meaning it's very quiet. Electromagnetic radiation, bad EM or EM smog, is basically at 0. Level of oxygen is normal. Magnetic field 44 to 48. When it comes to this field in microtesla, the scale of the normal magnetic field goes from 20 to 70. If it is below 20, it's very weak. If it is above 70, it can be bad for our health. If you go to the nuclear labs or you go to hospitals with a lot of rentgens and some other equipments, the values are well over 100. So 20 to 70 is the normal level. Here we have 44 to 48, which is exactly in the middle. So it is excellent magnetic field. Ultrasound, now I've noticed it is very busy, especially in the range from 18 to 21 kilohertz. Very busy, something is happening inside. Infrasound, most of the time there was no signal. When it did appear, it was about 10 hertz. As Richard said, here we have 4 roughly triangular sides. We have to take into consideration that it's been here for a very long time. People have been doing agriculture here and so on, so that original shape probably has been lost. Now, the one element which really caught my attention is measured by this instrument, which we call experimental life energy meter. I've noticed that on the scale from 0 to 100, usually the way we calibrate it is that the outside atmosphere in the field, we calibrate it at about 20. Well, here was about 32. So the life energy of this place was higher than average. And on some regular places, let's say with 20, when we measure ourselves, the human life energy, in my case it was about 80. However, at this particular point, it reaches almost 100, meaning that this place amplifies the life energy in humans. So even though the majority of the elements are telling us that this place right now it's rather quiet, there is still something going on in the ultrasound range and especially in very beneficial life energy features. So I would say this is a place which is well worth of further examination, maybe even doing some preliminary digging, so we will see in the future. And having into consideration that the first major geometrical shape that we discovered here in the valley, which was the equilateral triangle, sun, moon and dragon, and now here we are on the opposite side of dragon. We don't have a perfect, but we have rather close to the perfect triangle. I would say this was an important place for the ancients. Most probably it was part of the original Bosnian pyramid complex. Thank you very much. Thank you to Aydin who's been filming us.
Thank you.
Bye.
Ciao.